So this is elevator without effects. Of course not 100% accurate as I'm talking over it. But beyond that, everything that was originally in the short film that I put in post, I took out. So this is just the raw footage. I didn't want to just upload that because it's actually not the most entertaining thing in the world. But as you can see, one of the first things you might notice is there's actually no rain sounds. So all the rain was done in post. And that's actually kind of a theme that goes throughout. Pretty much everything is done in post. The only things that were done in the game are the elevators, which was done using just very simple redstone and teleport commands, using relative teleport commands. So right here, right when I click that button, I'm actually getting teleported down a floor. The doors aren't closing. So I'm already standing at the lobby right now, but for the effect, I'm just showing that I'm waiting for it to go down or anything like that. One of the advantages of doing everything as post is the ability to adjust how I like. So, for example, as I went down, the rain got louder or quieter depending on where I was. In the elevator, you could hear it get quieter, louder. As I walk outside, the elevator gets, the rain gets louder as I get near it. And then as I'm, quote, going down right here, the elevator, the rain's getting quieter as well. So, and it's actually using a filter. And so those are things that I could do if I had recorded the rain in game, but I would have had to cut around my footsteps, around the button presses, things like that, which would have been much more difficult. Now, as you can see here, there was one thing where I'd say it's parking basement and then sub-parking basement. But the concept here is I'm on floor 3, so when I get to the parking basement, I just press the button 3 times. And that's kind of the, I guess you could say, the trigger. That's what fucks it up, the elevator, and it starts going too low. And then I go to press the button again, and the concept here is, oh, whoops, I've made a mistake, press the button to go back up. Like if you can't go any lower, you start going back up, but then that doesn't work. And as we've already established with that bit in the lobby, the door, the button on the right side is what opens the door. So you'll see a lot of referencing to that. Should I open or should I go lower? Because those are the only 2 options he has. Another thing is, since all the sound was done in post, I could do things like have sound come in just one ear. So it's great if you're wearing headphones. I highly suggest, well, you should have already seen it by now, but most of it is best done with headphones. So I come up and I listen, and each area that I listened to, sort of each place, was a minute-long soundscape that I made. So for the cave, I pulled in the ambience of a cave, like wind noises, and I got bat sounds, and I got a growling and water dripping, and I mushed it all together, and then I added a low pass so it sounds like you're listening through something, and I just threw that out there. And it was a minute long, but I only ended up using, I think max was like 20 seconds for the dwarven mines, which is what this one is right now, I believe. And which is a bit of a bummer because a lot of them sounded really cool. The dwarven mines, it actually has Diggy Diggy Hole ever so faintly playing in the background. So I definitely had a lot of fun building those soundscapes. So this is right about when we're coming up to okay, so there's the nether, of course. You can faintly hear a ghast in the original, and then right here was the where the old ones lay, sort of Cthulhu-esque. And I didn't know what I was going to do here. Originally I had a concept of something maybe like darkness seeping through the cracks of the door, and I had a couple of different ideas. And actually the reason I really didn't end up going for that is because I've never been able to get camera tracking working in Minecraft very well. Sometimes it works, but 9 out of 10 times it just doesn't work at all, which is really unfortunate. And this one was another time where I tried that. So I tried the Foundry camera tracker, which I had built-in After Effects camera tracker. I tried using Mocha, but nothing really worked, unfortunately. So Mocha was the best. It definitely tracked the wall, but all I could use was a corner pin effect, which wouldn't have helped with what I was trying to do, which was going to be a 3D like spatial effect. Anyways, when it gets down to the void, and most of this is just me waiting around for it, what happens is all the sound disappears, and it's a very subtle effect because there's so very few sounds to begin with. But there is always constantly sound throughout the short film. You know, when the elevator's moving, you can hear the sound of the elevator, the footsteps, the button pressing, everything. So when it gets to the void is actually pitch silent. And originally I was just going to leave it like that, pitch silent and nothing else, but this is what you'd see. I mean, minus even the footsteps. So it would be even worse. And it needed something. Like, there needed to be something there. And I couldn't put my finger on what it was until I was actually looking at that video, and I realized it just needed to start being twisted a bit more, because the whole short film is meant to be a thriller sort of short film. That was the original concept. So so I definitely wanted to push closer to that. And then of course there's this last decision where, you know, do we open the door into the void or do we go down? And that's really it. That is literally the end of the recording. Because this last floor that I'm on is just underground. It's underground, just directly below the previous elevator. So there's only 3 of them, and everything takes place there. And yeah, and I've always had sort of this fascination with like, I guess you could say, environments where you have sort of a place, like the mines or the Dwarven mines or something like that. And it could be this massive, amazing, complicated structure. And I want the feel where you're getting a window into it, or less, if you can. But from that, you can just sort of glean all this information. Like, wow, there's so much going on here. Like, there's people who are talking, and families and friendships, and what do you call it? And there's probably lore to this whole place. Where did it come from? Jesus. Where did it come from? You know, where's it going? What did it, you know, who leads this place? You know, like, what is the story behind this? Each one is a window into this potential story. It could be like an epic saga. That's kind of how I felt with some of, what's it called? Lord of the Rings. But not quite, because there was clearly like a specific story being told there. But I would have liked the idea of, I've always liked the idea of someone almost non-committal, just sort of moving his way through, and he doesn't have a story so much as he's telling the story of others, because every place he goes there's a new story. He gets to a village, and it's a simple village tucked away in the mountains, but they're being plagued by a monster. And then he gets to a volcano, and it turns out there is like a nomad living like on the tip of the volcano, and there's like a whole reason for why the nomad's there. And I always kind of want to like allude to that. And it's always easier to just tell each story fully fleshed out, give every single detail, leave nothing to the imagination. It's both easier and harder. Easier because you're not leaving anything to the imagination. So you're not working on possibles and how it could work and so on and so forth. You're working on how it does work. And so, you know, it's easier in that sense, but it's also harder because if you're really going to go into the sort of, at least in my case, going into the depth that I want to go into it, you're going to be putting a lot of work into every single story, like so much, you know. You really have to touch on everything, at least briefly, and then that comes with its whole new set of problems. And so that's one of the reasons why I really like that concept of just a window in. And in this case, it's not a visual window, because I would have had to build the sets in Minecraft, which, I mean, I like playing Minecraft and everything, but I had an idea for a short film, and I wanted to do the idea for the short film, and I really didn't want to spend like a week on each floor designing the set idea and then like never using it again. Like, that's not my thing. Like, you know, if I was to do something like that, what I would have done is I would have just like recruited actual builders like Fire UK or something. I would have paid them and I would have said, hey, can you build this, this and this for me? It just needs to be a facade. But like, I want to give the impression that there's more than meets the eye, that there's a whole city or, you know, complex, you know, that there's lives and families and friendships going on, backstabbing, stories, you know, tales. You know, I want that sort of feeling from the look, if you can do that. And I, you know, I have however many floors I do. I have, let's see, I have the lobby. So in the lobby and the top floor both tell the same story of the man in the almost abandoned city. You could say it was abandoned. And again, it's more of like a metaphor. Like, is it literally abandoned, or is that just how he feels in his city? You know, does he feel abandoned? I mean, because it can't be taken literally. Obviously, an elevator doesn't do that. But at the same time, maybe it's a metaphysical thing. Maybe the elevator really did do that. Who knows? But I have a concept that it's more of a metaphor, that, you know, he felt abandoned, and then from that point on, it's sort of him looking into other lives. But of course, you know, with a fantastical imagination, or a fantastical twist of the imagination. Anyways, you get what I'm trying to say. Yeah, I mean, the soundscapes were the next best thing I could do without having to build each entire place. And so I really spent most of my work there, because that's what was gonna sell each effect, I guess you could say. Excuse me. And I really wish that I could have put more, I don't want to say put more time and effort into it, because I put, you know, plenty of time and effort. That's not the problem, but I do wish that I could have shown more. And with the story the way it was, I could not have, you know? I would have had to, like, if I did, it would have been too long, you know? The character would have got to each place, and having him stand at the door of each, you know, standing at the door and listening at each level for, you know, longer than, having him do it for longer than like 20 seconds just felt weird. So there was definitely like you're gonna do it this long, or, you know, we're not gonna do it, because if we do it longer than that, people are just gonna get bored. You wanna leave somebody, you always want to leave somebody wanting more. If you give somebody everything that they want, it's like, okay, cool, and then that's it, you know? But if you leave people wanting just a little bit, not a lot, not enough to piss people off, not enough to ruin an experience or anything like that, but enough that they want to come back and want to experience more of that same thing. You know, that's like the best case scenario, and that's what I'm shooting for most of the time. So anyways, yeah, so that's elevator, that's the footage, and then of course the raw footage as well as just background stuff, me fucking around and trying to record it a couple of times. And you've seen it, so I hope you really like it. I hope you can appreciate how much work went into it, from color grading to sounds to the absolutely fantastic voice actor who I found on Reddit and was able to help me out with this project for no money. So he's just the best. I don't know if he has any social media, but I will link his SoundCloud, and his name is popping up on the screen because I can't think of it off the top of my head. Antony something. And yeah, I mean, and I guess thank you for the map builder as well, because I was surprised at how very few Minecraft skyscrapers there were, and that really was exactly what I was looking for. So yeah, for a 6-minute video that took like for a well put together 6-minute video took me about 3 or 4, I guess technically 5 days of solid work. So I think for the most part I'll just stick to gaming videos, but I really do enjoy making content like this. It just doesn't get the attention that I'm looking for, essentially, because I'm an attention whore. It's just, you know, I don't want to put too much effort into something if nobody's going to see it. So, but if you guys really do like it, then just please leave a comment, literally saying anything. Just say awesome if you liked it. That really helps YouTube, and it also really helps me because I know that people are watching and listening, and it means a lot to me. So yeah, thank you. And that was everything. I hope you guys enjoyed Elevator. Look out for the other short films I have coming up. One's a live action short film, and the other one is a massive short film called Redux that I made a trailer for almost a year ago. And that, I swear to God, will come. It will. So yeah, thank you very much, and I will see you later, YouTube.